Hello, my name is Andrew, and today we're talking about the pros and the cons of the original Lono Flow S versus the all-new Lono Flow 2. So the Lono Flow is one of the best all-purpose barefoot training shoes, and while version 2 is similar, it does have quite a few upgrades. First off, both shoes are wide with a square inside and a little bit of taper on the outside, and they measure about 4¼ inches or 11 centimeters, but the original's toe protection is a bit more minimal with some softer material here, while version 2 is more reinforced in the toe and also has this wraparound guard here, which provides a little more water resistance, like if you're going through wet grass. But both versions have a knit upper with a ton of really good flex, although the Flow 2 just seems to have a little bit more volume up top, which does give a little bit more width and more accommodation for anyone with higher arches. Up top, both flows are perforated for airflow, but version 2 moved the perforation to the center as opposed to the sides, which again just gives you a little bit more water resistance there. One of my favorite features of the Flow is this notch here, because when the shoe bends, it prevents the leather from adding extra stress and tearing out, and they've kept that for version 2. But yeah, in terms of the laces, they're a flat style in the original, which is a little less noticeable on top of your feet, whereas version 2 has more drawstring style round laces, which you can usually feel a little bit more on top of your feet, but they're generally stronger and less likely to break. And Lono is the only barefoot brand I've seen that does this side lacing thing so that the knot of the laces isn't hitting your foot when you bend like this. They've also gotten rid of this middle panel on the original one, which was nice for security but also made them a little tighter up top, and instead they've got a combo of this thin lace guard running down the middle and then also this extra reinforced stitching. So for me, version 2 just felt a little bit more natural up top, especially when I was sprinting or really flexing my foot. Also, while I like the minimal side support on the originals, it did make them slightly snug in the midfoot area. And you can see too that the original had a more sculpted midfoot versus the version 2, which is more straight cut. That said, version 2 also removed the lower support and added it going up around here, which helps prevent any weird pressure points but still gives you that reinforcement that you need for side to side stuff. But the stretchy slip-on collar is still the same, though I think the pull tab could be just a little bit longer because sometimes it's hard to grip. Inside at the heel, the Lono Flow has one of the best lockdowns because you've got these pads here that are split in the middle so it's not rubbing on your Achilles tendon, and it's pretty much the same thing for version 2, but the original Flow had a little bit more padding built in, whereas you get a bit more ground feel in version 2, but either way you can always add the removable insole, which gives you a little bit of extra softness. In terms of the zero drop sole, the original was 6mm and it had some really good flexibility, although version 2 is even thinner at 5mm, which is a great all-around thickness for a barefoot trainer. And where the original had almost like a trail tread with a lot of space in between the lugs, version 2 is much more gym and road oriented with some extra dense rubber up front and also at the heel if you're going to go on gravel. And while I really like the grip panels on the original because they're kind of like mini spikes, these types of nibs tend to get worn down pretty quickly. So the extra surface area in the version 2 just makes it a lot more durable. One other thing about the 6mm sole of the original is that the heel is a bit more firm, so I just found that the new version had more flex and just kind of a natural feel rolling down on the heel. And then finally, version 2 has this tabby split in the front as well as going across and in the middle, so it really adds some nice flexibility in all directions. In terms of alternatives, these are the Vivobarefoot Primus Lite Knit. They've also got a wide toe box, but with a little less volume and more minimal front reinforcement. Still a slip-on collar though. And this is the all-natural version, which is a leather heel lining, and then the upper is made out of tencel, so a great option if you want to wear barefoot. But in terms of the sole, it's thinner at 4mm with some really superb flexibility, and then a mix of grippy lugs in the tread and some reinforcement on the outside as well. But overall, the ground feel is excellent, which makes the Primus Lite Knit my favorite for sprinting and longer runs, although it has less side-to-side stability than the Flow for doing intense gym and CrossFit type of stuff. Another great option for barefoot cross training is the Xero HFS, which is wide like the other two, but with more front reinforcement, kind of similar to Lono, and some great breathability through the mesh here. We have some nice side support through the midfoot for cross training, and a really comfortable ankle with some more padding than the other two, although it does add a bit of weight. For the sole, it's 5mm with some really excellent flexibility in all directions, because even though it's 5mm like the Flow, there's a bit more space in between the lugs, and they've also added these horizontal lines, which adds even more flex, plus denser rubber here for durability on the landing spots, and also a bit of versatility for trail with the aggressive lugs, although the Flow wins in terms of overall surface area and wear resistance. Finally, for a great budget option, this is the Freet Vibe. It has the widest toe box of the four, and a really good squared off shape in front with some medium light reinforcement, and a breathable mesh upper that's similar to the HFS, but a little bit more minimal side support that's somewhere in between the Primus Lite and the HFS. Also has a collar that's a bit more padded, and for the sole, it's 4mm, so the same as the Vivobarefoot Primus Lite, but the tread is more hybrid, and it's a really good option for going on gravel and light trails with a great blend of protection and grip, although there's not quite as much ground feel as something lighter like the Primus Lite. Alright, so those are the pros and the cons of the Lono Flow 1 versus 2, but if you'd like to support the channel, you can shop the referral links down below, browse and filter more products with the shoe finder tool, my website barefootwear.org, or watch watching a zero drop transition video to learn more about barefooting. Finally, if you have a question about the Lono Flow or about barefoot shoes in general, let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching. Catch you next time. Peace.